Bones tardes, amics i amigues. Som a Ràdio Petra, programa enregistrat, perquè avui hem tingut l'oportunitat de tenir aquí al nostre poble un ciutadà americà, en Christian Clifford, que ha escrit 4 llibres del pare Serra. Gràcies a la Catalina Fangomila el tenim aquí i hem cregut oportú en fer-li una entrevista de per què i quin interès té el pare Serra dins els Estats Units. Let's start it. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And thank you, Catalina. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Nice to meet you.
You will help us to translate. And sorry for my English. It's not.
Your English is way better than my Catalan.
Thanks to be here, Catalina, Asociación Amigos Fray Junípero Serra. We think that you are a person of our interest because you brought 4 books about Junípero Serra.
Thank you for having me, and it's just a real honor to be here with Catalina and Elizabeth and Petra. I have a great affinity for St. Junípero Serra. I'm quite the devotee. I've taught at Serra High School in San Mateo, California, USA, for over 25 years now, I think. And I started writing these books because a student of mine asked me questions about him, because in the United States, the media really devotes a lot of time to the controversy surrounding him. So that really took me on a journey to build upon what I knew about Junípero Serra by doing more research, and it was quite the journey, and I learned so much, and I became even a bigger devotee because of the historical record and what it says about him.
You teach at the university, and your students ask about Junípero Serra. Bé, ells ens està dient, si m'equivoco, que és mestre de la universitat, que els seus alumnes li estaven demanant damunt el pare Serra la controvèrsia entre indis, m'imagino jo, i religiosos. And what did you find about Junípero Serra?
So, as an historian, you always need to be open to the historical record and what it says, and you don't want to just go out and find viewpoints that support your own. So it's quite it could be scary, right? Because you could be wrong. And what I ended up finding out, very open to the process, learning from many perspectives, experts, is that what the history of Serra that's been taught is well supported with historical records. So in America, today it seems that with social media, people make claims, and it is just true because a person said it. But the historical record doesn't support it. So the complexity of the history is people who are anti-colonialism. Serra's kind of the poster boy for that time in history in the United States, in California in particular, when it was a part of the Spanish Empire. So that's the beauty of history and the challenge. Just because a person makes a claim online doesn't necessarily mean it's true. But I guess when people make claims and you have a similar claim, it kind of makes one feel good, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. Junípero Serra was a very holy man. He loved the Mission Indians as if they were his own children. That's why we Catholics call the priest father. They're our spiritual father. In the United States, you have people who don't like Junípero Serra say, he looked at them like they were dumb. They were their children. And it was not the understanding. It's not the correct understanding. And if one wants to know, they can just do a little research and find out, Catholics call the priest father, they're not the biological father, or their father in heaven is a spiritual father here on earth to help us, guide us to be better Catholic people in the here and now. So that's kind of it. My friends, or my students, I read it online, it must be true. And that's unfortunately, I think, where a direction we're going. I think it's going to get worse with AI. But I digress a little bit and get a little philosophical there. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
¿Nos ayudas a traducir un poco o resumir? Porque
¿Está funcionando?
Sí.
Puesto que ha sido muy largo y muy interesante la opinión que nos ha dado Christian. Ha sido el hecho de que ahora en esta edad moderna, él ha notado que en Estados Unidos el hecho de que una persona diga algo sin ningún tipo de prueba, sin ningún tipo de documentación, esa información corre, y la gente tiende a tomarlo como verdadero. Él ha intentado entonces con sus investigaciones, los libros que él ha escrito sobre Fray Junipero Serra, demostrando la verdad sobre el pensamiento de estos señores que llegaron a California y fundaron estas iglesias, el cariño que ellos mostraron hacia el indio, no de una forma negativa, sino una forma humilde y bondadosa, llamándose ellos mismos por la religión católica padre, no significa que sea los demás inferiores. Es algo que ha reaccionado, ha habido problemas y ha habido antes y va a haber dentro de poco una continuación, porque hay un rechazo y hay un desconocimiento, hay una falta de lectura, una falta de interés en cuanto a la historia, y eso es algo que nuestro compañero Christian ha intentado con sus libros, ya son 4, desarrollando la mentalidad religiosa, que es la que tuvo lugar en California en esa época.
I saw your books, and I think, I'm not sure, the first one was Who Was Father Serra? And
actually, piggybacking on what I said just a moment ago, yeah, but this is the one I first wrote, and it's called Saint Junipero Serra, and the subtitle is Making Sense of the History and Legacy. So you can see my opening comments with my young students sincerely asking, Mr. Clifford, you say all these great things about Junipero Serra, and but then these guys say this online, and they have records too and evidence and so on. So that's why I went on this. This is really written for secondary school aged, 16 to 18 primarily. But I think it's a popularly written for any age. But the idea of making sense of the history and legacy. The historical process is in place for a reason and taught in schools, if done well, is critical thinking. It's like, what am I looking at? What is the viewpoint of this, and so on, rather than kind of just reading what we see online and taking it as gospel truth, when there's a saying now that's becoming more and more popular, which I think is a good phrase, and that is doing a deep dive, right? So hopefully people do more of a deep dive. I think this is more of an introduction on the historical method, Junipero Serra, to kind of introduce people that might be confused, like...
Maybe the books are major for American people, or...
Yes, English only, yeah, exactly, right? Because... yes, there was some vandalism of the Serra statue in Palma, but nothing like in California. And it makes you think, what's the underlying reasons for these things? And that goes to this point I wanted to bring up in my most recent book about my 800-mile pilgrimage walk of the California Missions Trail. In each chapter, I devote to a Mission Indian story, because I think they get lost in the shuffle. And there are descendants of the Mission Indians who still practice their Catholic faith. And one of the stories in here that I share is from a Chumash elder. And the Chumash were the local peoples near San Buenaventura, that mission. And she said that the young people who are angry, they don't, I'm paraphrasing here, they don't know their history. They're angry. They're angry about many different things. They don't know their history. And she said, when my daughter was sick, the Franciscan priests at Mission Santa Barbara is where she is from. They brought a relic of Junipero Serra. And, I asked for prayers for Junipero Serra to intercede on behalf of my daughter and to help bring up prayers to Jesus to heal my daughter. And lo and behold, she got better. And she goes, I will go to Mat for Serra any day against these young people who are doing the vandalism and angry. So I think that's a poignant story to kind of put it all together. The Chumash elder from Mission Santa Barbara.
Porque es una emotiva historia.
Sí, es una historia muy bonita. Sí. Christian nos está explicando sobre 2 libros. El primer libro está escrito realmente para jóvenes, él indicó 15, 18 años, dando razón por la investigación sobre la vida de Junipero Serra. Hay que investigarlo y los estudiantes tienen que aprender a interesarse y leer. Y eso le llevó después al segundo libro, que lo hizo después de como una especie de camino de Santiago, pero camino de Fray Junipero Serra por California, 800 millas creo que indican, sí. Camino real, pero que donde está haciendo hincapié en la creencia, gran creencia de lo que es el indio americano, que en su momento estuvo presente en la época de Fray Junipero Serra y que siguen con ese cariño y creencia en la bondad, echan de lado el maltrato a las estatuas y toda la representación de la juventud que está como vengativo, una juventud nerviosa, una juventud que no sabe realmente dónde va, y Fray Junipero es una víctima relativamente fácil, porque en California pues hay mucho de nuestra Serra. Y bien, esa es la base. No podré leer esto ahora, pero lo leeré.
The woman's name, the Chumash elder, is Ernestine Ignacio de Soto, who says this about the younger people and who's the relic, the relic, yeah. Of Fray Junipero.
Okay, and you wrote the other 2 books.
Yeah, in between, yeah. So, who was Saint Junipero Serra? My son, he when he was growing up, he's now 17. So, this is about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. When he's 8, he was really into these books called the Who Was series in America. Who was, or what were the pyramids? Who was George Washington? So he said, Dad, you should write one called Who Was Saint Junipero Serra? Because he knows the first book there. So this book I'm really proud of. I first published it traditionally through a publisher. It's now in my hands, and I'm really proud of this book because I have the history through the records, but I kind of tell stories through people who existed, who knew Junipero Serra, but it's not a historical record. So I guess you can call it historical fiction, that genre. And it's written for young people, in America, 3rd grade would be 9, 10 years old, maybe 11. It's kind of written for them. But recently I gave a talk in Pasadena, California, to a group there, and plenty of adults bought it and said, "Hey, that's okay.
Yes,
That's my reading
imagine,
level." So.
I imagine because here in Mallorca, people heard about Junipero Serra, but they don't know who did.
That's a good point.
Yes.
That's a really good point, and it's because it's not written in translated into Spanish or Catalan. Not yet. That'd be nice someday, maybe. But yeah, maybe if a person has a basic rudiment understanding of English, I think they can figure it out. Yeah.
Estamos hablando del tercer libro que ha preparado Christian. Comenta que la idea surgió cuando su propio hijo cumplía más o menos 7 años. Estaba muy vinculado a esos programas de ¿sabías quién era el que hizo o de dónde viene lo que sea? Él entonces empezó a aprender y averiguar cosas interesantes del mundo, pero él llamó la atención a su padre: ¿por qué no haces tú lo mismo? En cuanto a Fray Junipero Serra, ¿quién era este hombre? ¿Qué es lo que hizo? Y eso dio la idea al padre, y este es el libro hecho también para gente joven, donde él, además de todos los hechos históricos que él tiene, también ha preparado como pequeñas acciones, pequeñas historietas, donde mezcla la aventura con la realidad, para que sea más ameno para la gente joven. Es un libro que él quisiera algún día traducir, o que se traduzca, puesto que volvemos a lo siempre. Poca gente conoce la historia, y hay que, para empezar, traducir los textos para que puedan leerlo y después ya aprender y seguir adelante.
So these two that I just spoke about, who is St. Junipero Serra and Pilgrimage, In Search of the Real California Missions, they were given awards from the Catholic Media Association in the United States. So second place for books for young people, and this is on Pilgrimage, third place, about 2 years ago. Yeah, so it hasn't been updated here on this one.
Estos dos últimos libros han recibido premios ya oficiales, premios religiosos, en cuanto a agradecimiento por la historia ofrecida.
Well, one of the books I'm actually most proud of is Meet Pablo Tac, Indian from the Far Shores of
yes,
California.
I saw he was the first Indian priest.
Kind of, almost. But if you look at the cover,
yeah,
it kind of gets to a lot of the points that I've brought up, and that is you cover this in kind of European, right? European.
Yeah.
And then here,
Indian.
California Indian. But what unites the two is the Sacred Heart of Jesus, right? The Sacred Heart of Jesus. So, as a young boy, Catholic, right? Universal. This is just when Mexico was starting to take over from the Spanish. That's the time he lived. I want to say 1820. He was a young boy, and the priest at Mission San Luis Rey de Francia in modern-day Oceanside, California, in Southern California, saw the writing on the wall. He was Catalan, and he said, "I'm going to go home." And he brought Pablo Tac and another young mission Indian who was, I guess he saw promise in them, and the parents said, "Sure, better life, no problem, take him," Oh, I probably wasn't like that, but they saw something greater, I guess, for their future, for their children. And they got on a ship. They went to Mexico first and stayed there for about 6 months, 8 months, and then sailed on to Barcelona. And then the priest left them. Their parish priest said bye-bye in Barcelona, and they continued on to Rome, where they studied for the priesthood at the Urban College, which was a Catholic university founded in the early 17th century. And they had seminarians from all over the world, every walk of life, every culture, every language. And these guys, I came across his story while researching for my first story. And when I was doing research online, and it blew me away, because I'm from California, born and bred. and I've never heard his name, ever. And it should be well known by your average Californian. His writings are the earliest from a mission, an Indian, a California Indian, let alone a mission Indian. Because when he was in Rome studying, he wrote the history of his people, he wrote the language of his people, because of course the indigenous or the natives, everything was oral tradition. Everything's oral tradition. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion about Serra becoming the poster boy about anything bad about colonialism is because these stories that are taught one generation after the next, it just becomes a part of who they are and their hatred. That's why our friend that we were talking about earlier, Mendoza. Professor Mendoza is such a powerful story, right? He's brought up in a family where hate the Catholic Church, hates Junipero Serra, hate the missions. That's his dad telling him, somebody he loves and trusts. And then he goes off to university and studies archaeology, and then one of his first digs is dealing with California mission history, and he's like, whoa, all that stuff my dad said, that had to be really difficult, to yeah. So Pablo Tac is really makes, I think, people who have any interest in this, who might want to be tempted by that narrative of hate the church, hate Serra, hate colonialism, think twice. Like, wow, this is a pretty amazing story. Why are people keeping this from me? Why is it forgotten? So I hope his name is renowned. I've actually started a petition because I think he was a great, great person and should be recognized by the church for being a holy. I think he should be a saint because I'm pretty sure he is a saint. I pray to him often. I pray to Junipero Serra to intercede for me. I pray to Pablo Tac to intercede for me. And if your listeners and viewers just want to go to, just put Pablo Tac, T-A-C, petition into the search engine, and it'll pop right up, and you can read about it.
Edificate.
Yeah.
Bueno, esto va a ser difícil hacer un poco.
Sí, ese es largo, sí.
Pero lo que sí está bien claro en este cuarto libro de Christian Clifford es sobre un indígena. El nombre mágico es Pablo Tac, T-A-C, Tac. Es considerado posiblemente el primer indígena religioso en California. Él está haciendo hincapié en la portada del libro, donde se mezcla un poquito la fisionomía indígena norteamericana, del indio americano, y también la parte mexicana española. Es muy interesante, unido por el corazón de María o de Jesús, Sagrado Corazón, pero la base es el comprender, después de tantos años y tanto intercambio de mensajes correctos, incorrectos, imaginaciones, negativo, todo el mundo básicamente contra la Iglesia Católica, que siempre ha sido un plato fuerte en todo lo que España tuvo y en California y en Estados Unidos. Pero este libro Christian considera ideal para gente joven otra vez. Él tiene la idea de tratar de educar desde abajo, y desde abajo es nuestra juventud, y somos nosotros ya los que aún siendo mayores estamos aprendiendo, pero porque estos libros no estaban. Pero ahora ya no tenemos excusa.
Yes, I'm thinking that history is history. We have a culture in Europe, and in America you have a culture too, because Europeans came to America, and in California were Spanish and later English. And how do you think is the relations between Spanish culture and
yeah, so I'm not quite understanding the question.
No, because here is sometimes the cultures, it's a confrontation.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, and you are Christian, and because Serra is Christian, and in America it's Protestant, you know, and sometimes it sounds confusing for us.
Yeah, okay, maybe this will speak to it. Yeah, so one of the reasons why Pope Francis said, hey, we Catholics know that Junipero Serra, we're so confident he's in heaven, so much that he actually said, there's no need for us to recognize a second miracle. You know, his life was basically a miracle, and that's quite rare in modern Catholic history for a pope to do such a thing. Because saints need two miracles, verified miracles for the most part. You know, medically speaking, almost always medically speaking. Mm-hmm. But anyways, in the United States, Protestants, for the first time in our history, are a minority. They're collectively a minority because Catholics now are the largest Christian denomination in the United States. It's actually the number one in terms of total Catholics on the planet, the United States. But the history that we learn growing up, and it's changing, I think, but when I was growing up, because I'm older, was from a real white Anglo-Saxon Protestant viewpoint, focused on the 13 colonies and the English and the greatness of the English, which there's plenty to be proud of. I get that. But Pope Francis wanted to remind the Americans, I think in particular American intellectuals, and that there's a really deep and significant Hispanic impact in the history of the United States. Yeah, it's really a reminder. I think there's a little politicking going on there from now's the time. Because when he announced that in January 2015, that he's going to come to the United States or he's going to canonize Junipero Serra, that whole controversy thing came back into play. And it really, I think some people were really surprised, like, whoa, Serra? No, I thought that was all done, you know, with the beatification and the big uproar we made. And that uproar came back, but no, he said, no, now's the time to remind Americans of their Hispanic roots and to remind Catholics, I think, to stop being lukewarm about your faith, to proudly preach the gospel, not just through how you live your life, but also words and actions. And that will transform the world for the better. You know, I think that's where Pope Francis was coming from. And there's a great witness in Junipero Serra of that, word and deed, even though people sometimes make up crazy stories about him that are not verifiable or not true.
Hemos tocado la parte religiosa, afortunadamente, y ya Fray Junipero Serra es religión pura y dura, pero la presencia y los comentarios del Papa en cuanto a Fray Junipero Serra, la importancia de resaltar no solo él como representante religiosa, sino hacia el pueblo americano, el pueblo de Estados Unidos, puesto que ya es América del Sur es otra historia. Pero el Papa ha querido recargar la importancia de los católicos norteamericanos de defender más la religión suya, que ya es predominante en cuanto a la población americana, por encima de los protestantes en su variedad de cultos. Y también resaltó Christian la importancia en su momento del Papa cuando vino a resaltar y hacer beatificar a Fray Junipero Serra, y el segundo paso que ha sido el hacerle santo. La importancia de la parte religiosa, Christian está subrayando en este último libro para abrir los ojos a la religión católica, la creencia que también incluye todo lo que es California, todos los indígenas de California que también absorbieron y han mantenido en su mayor parte la religión católica.
Elizabeth, do you think I answered his question that he was asking?
Yes,
originally?
yes, because, you know, we stay here in Europe, in Mallorca, watching TV, you know, and that happens to us. When the religion, it seems that it's going down,
Yes.
you know, and but I try to think that history will teach us for the future.
Yeah.
If we know about our past, we probably
will repeat it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will learn about the future, because in our days, you know, it's war, and it sounds that it's always a war around the world. And I think, and I'm hoping that is not true, you know. And in America, it's a huge country, and it's a lot of people, and the mentality is maybe quite different at European culture, you know. And sometimes
it's kind of interesting.
You know,
I was saying to my wife the other day, because we're visiting Rome, Florence, Barcelona, and that's why I'm so happy that I was able to come here, because it's so close to Barcelona, and my friendship with Catalina, and it's just been wonderful. But I was saying to my wife, imagine Europe and its history, World Wars I and II, and the end of the Holy Roman Empire kind of kept things together with the Catholic identity. And then that all went crazy with nationalism and going back to pre-Roman times. And in America, we have 50 states, but we're united.
Yes.
In a federal government. I go, here, today, it's like 50 countries right next to each other.
Yes,
so imagine,
and each country has different
cultures, and even within that borders. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just imagine, we're going from California to Nevada. We have to get our passports out. I mean, it's much better now with the EU, I think, for you, in terms of border economics, you know, things like that. But that's from an American perspective. So, I mean, that the British, I think, otherwise, right, with the Brexit and so on. But, that's a really interesting point. We do seem to be backsliding culturally. We have a lot of diversity, and we're kind of in a polar mentality right now with far left and far right. When in reality, most people are kind of in the middle, just kind of living life and so on. And most people going about their day-to-day business, not worrying about any of these things I'm bringing up. But if one wants to take history seriously, which I think they should, particularly Catholics, these, you know, Catholics going along with the flow and not knowing their own history, and then they hear this stuff online, and I'll do that because my friend said that, or it has 2,000 likes, and you know, I don't know how strong of a life that is. You know,
I think maybe part also of your question was that maybe it's my question with all this, is that now with the great influence of the Spanish culture and the Hispanic culture, which are Spanish and after all, which bring the Catholic religion with them. I mean, all South America basically is Catholic. Isn't that enough to keep that level? Or maybe is that because we have a high level of Catholic people in the United States because of this
immigrants?
influence?
Because of immigrants. Yeah. That's the sole reason.
Exactly.
People like myself have Irish American, you know, background and so on. Those people are leaving the church, and they're not having a lot of children and so on. If it weren't for the immigrants from Latin America in particular. However, the complexity is, like you said, all the data is showing that in Europe, the people identifying as Catholic is going down, and on the rise is nuns and atheists and so on. But having gone to Rome and Florence and Barcelona recently, I can tell you, it seems like God is at work. You know, it always amazes me when sociologists want to do surveys on religion and so on, be it Catholic or any other one. It's like you can't. Using the Eucharist in particular, the real presence. The data showing that Catholics in the United States the numbers are going down in terms of accepting that as a doctrinal truth, And I don't know if you can read in the human heart sociology with the Eucharist and what that does to transform people. So my point is, at least from my perspective on this, it's anecdotal, but walking through St. Peter's and the Duomo and the Sagrada Familia, it seems to me that the Catholic Church is alive and well, or through these great works, inviting people to rethink how they perceive religion, in particular Catholic Christianity, because I'm totally biased, but going to La Sagrada Familia, I don't know how anyone who could be a non-believer or on the fence and agnostic can think, walk out of there an atheist or still an agnostic, because what Gaudi did was just beyond comprehension, that God had to be at work, and he even recognized that in his faithfulness. The tour guide shared with me that the height of La Sagrada Familia will be 1 meter less than the tallest peak in Barcelona, because God is the creator of all, right? Nature. And he's like, I'm just a man. I'm not going to go beyond what God can create. And I think that was poignant.
¿No lo traduces un poco? Sí, porque ha sido largo.
Sí, o sea, pero ha sido muy bonito porque volvemos a lo que es la religiosidad en Estados Unidos, y efectivamente Christian ha notado, en su opinión, que al llegar a Europa, que él acaba de venir para uno de sus viajes, considera que hay una decaída en cuanto a la creencia o la importancia que el pueblo europeo está dando a la Iglesia, en este caso católico, pero yo creo que todas las otras iglesias cristianas. Y él ha estado extremadamente contento cuando llegó a Roma y pudo pasear entre todas las basílicas y estas iglesias maravillosas, donde simplemente con entrar él notaba la fuerza de aceptar que hay algo superior a todos nosotros, y eso debe ser la base de la religión católica y cristiana en general. Y también mencionó Gaudí en Barcelona, en la Sagrada Familia. Considera que cualquier persona, por raro que sea, el entrar en la Sagrada Familia, tienes que salir con una sensación de que hay algo grande, y si había dudas, pues esas dudas habría que clarificarlas.
Are you thinking to write a book in the future about something?
My wife told me I need to take a break, so I have been writing the occasional article for different Catholic publications.
Yes, I
online, but no books in the making quite yet, and on the works.
Okay.
Maybe someday. We'll see.
Sí, ha recibido instrucciones en casa de tranquilizarse, 4 libros por el momento, que no robe más tiempo a la familia, y dentro de más adelante.
My son is about to graduate high school and possibly start moving into adulthood, so maybe I'll have more time on my hands.
Okay. It's for new generations, I understand.
Perhaps in Petra, the mayor must translate this book at Mallorquin or Catalan and to Spanish.
Yeah.
Was better.
Yeah, one of my friends is an interpreter at Hispanidad Translations, so maybe he'll take that up. We'll see.
For students?
Yeah, his name Esteban. Zacchaeus. Yeah.
I don't know if you visited the home of the Junipero Serra here in Petra. No. Okay.
I can't wait.
No, okay. And only the last question. What do you think that this is small village?
I love it.
To go to Junipero Serra, a small man, go there and founded San Francisco, Los Angeles, this huge
it's amazing.
cities.
I came to a short flight from Barcelona, and then I took the bus to the cathedral, and then I went to the San Francisco convent, and just like a kid in a candy store with all these beautiful things that connect with Sarah's life. And then I take the train out to Petra, and as we got further and further away from Palma and into the countryside, and then really right outside of town here, I took a video. I'm like, oh, I can see, Serra leaving here, and it's probably looking behind his shoulder and seeing something very similar to what I'm seeing right now. And then I walked from the train station to here. It's just beautiful, quaint, good, friendly people like yourselves. It's a little hot, but yeah, I'm really excited because everywhere I look, I take a picture because, this, that, and the other, Serra, Serra, Serra.
Now visit the museum, the house when he lived, and the convent, celebrate the Mass, the religion Franciscan, and finally, with Elizabeth, go to Palma.
Yes.
Go to the airport.
Yes.
Nos lo traduces rápidamente y así. Ya llevamos 40 minutos.
Sí, bueno, simplemente al final ya la parte romántica, él ha venido Cristian en tren desde Palma y comentaba la belleza que él consideraba desde el tren, sacó vídeos y fotos imaginando por esos caminos que Fray Junípero Serra habría andado en su momento en la despedida de sus padres y le pareció realmente magnífico. Él caminó desde la estación de Manacor hasta Petra y absorbiendo la belleza de nuestra Mallorca.
Maybe that'll be it down the road. My next book will be about Camino de Saint Junípero Serra. And yeah, we'll have people walk from here to Palma, and then swim to Barcelona.
It's a long way.
No, Serra didn't do that. He dog paddled. Yeah.
It was a great time to spend with you. If you think you must say something else, it's the moment. I think it's not spent. We have a great time, 42 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think it's enough, because you must visit if you want, because it's an obligation to visit.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure, an honor. I can't wait.
Okay, thanks a lot, Christian. And I hope that you will come another day and to spend more time here around Mallorca, and not with this hottest weather. Maybe in winter. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And thank you, Catalina.
Yes, thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah.